Okay, folks, again, this is Doug Pinkham with Pinkham and Associates. I'm going to help you in filling out your FL144, which you are likely going to want as one of the forms for your judgment packet. This form is called a Stipulation and Waiver of Final Declaration of Disclosure. Now, here's the key. When you file for divorce or legal separation in the state of California, in order to finish that case, you are going to have to do what are known as declarations of disclosure to the other party. What does that mean? That means, and by the way, I have a video set on declarations of disclosure. And there's a reason for that. It's very, very serious in the eyes of the state of California. The declarations of disclosure are literally the most important thing. They don't care, the state of California and judges don't care how you divide your property. They don't, frankly, as long as the kids are safe, they don't care what you do with custody and visitation. If you guys agree, you can make orders to do anything you want. However, there are rules and laws that say you can't even divide your property, and unless you have disclosed all of your property properly to the other party. So this form, so you need to do a declaration of disclosure. It's due within 30 days of filing your initial paperwork. So if you're the petitioner and you filed for divorce, you need to do your declarations of disclosure within 30 days and serve it on the other party. It's a pile of paperwork. It's several forms. Like I said, there's a video set on the declarations of disclosure. So go find that if you didn't do your declarations of disclosure, or if you don't think you did them correctly. All right. And if you're the respondent, you've been served with a divorce or a legal separation, you need to do your declarations of disclosure and file your proof of service and serve them on the other party within 30 days of being served the paperwork. All right. Now, like I said, it's a pile of paperwork and it's a bunch of work. This form is a stipulation and waiver of final declarations of disclosure. So that disclosure that you do at the beginning of a divorce or legal separation is called the preliminary declaration of disclosures. If you're also supposed to do what are known as final declarations of disclosure close to the end of your case, right before trial, or later on in the case. No earlier than 45 days before trial, I believe it is. It might be 60 days. Anyway, it's at the end, right before trial. So that you can disclose any changes that have occurred in the financials or debts or expenses since the preliminary declarations of disclosure. This form, if signed by both parties, waives the need to do the final declarations of disclosure. It's a beautiful thing if you both are willing to sign it and waive the final declarations of disclosure. Now, very important, number one on this form says, well, actually, I think it falls under number two and everything, but needless to say, this form is only okay, and you can only use it if you did your preliminary declarations of disclosure, both of you, and you did them correctly and completely. If you did not do them completely and correctly, you're not supposed to be using this form. You're not supposed to waive your final declarations of disclosure. Because again, the state of California is very, very serious about this form. All right, so some of you can see the form and have been seeing the form since I started talking, and others of you cannot see the form. If you do not have the form in front of you, I believe there's a link at the bottom of this video to pull up the FL144. Pull that up and have it in front of you so you can fill it out as we go through it. It's a very, very simple form. In fact, it only requires signatures, but you needed to understand all of that preliminary information to understand whether you should be signing and submitting this form. All right, folks. So let's, much like every form, you're going to put your name at the top. This is John Doe, my make-believe name. So, oops. We got John Doe, and we got John Doe's address, 123 Main Street, Anywhere, California. And oh, how interesting. We gave him a zip code in Anaheim, California. Very good. All right, so then the phone number, that's some fake phone number, and a fax number. If you have been using a fax number, you can put your fax number in there. Email address, which is also optional. You don't need to put that in there. And then attorney for, again, like every other form, you're going to put your name in there if you're filling out your own forms. Okay. Then we have Superior Court of California, County of Orange. And I can see it's misspelled right below. Then you're going to put the street address of the courthouse in there. And mailing address if there's a separate mailing address, and then the name, the branch name of the court. And the branch name in Orange County Family Law is Lamoureux Justice Center, just so you know. So in this case, we have John Doe, who is the petitioner, and Jane Doe is the respondent. Not going to use other on this form. And then the case number, if you're using a stipulation waiver or final deck of disclosure, you already have a case number, but I don't have one listed here. So just put in your proper case number in that form. Then we go down to the bottom, and you're going to date it and put your names there and sign it. But I want to go back up here to 1. I want to read this form to you so that you understand what we're doing here in a little bit more detail. Number 1, under Family Code Section 2105D, the parties agree to waive the requirements of Family Code Section 2105A concerning the final declarations of disclosure. 2, the parties agree as follows. A, we have complied with Family Code Section 2104, and the preliminary declarations of disclosure have been completed and exchanged. So that's the part I was telling you. You have to have completed and done correctly your preliminary declarations of disclosure. 2B, we have completed and exchanged a current income and expense declaration, FL 150, which I have another video on if you need help figuring that form out. That includes all material facts and information on each party's earnings, accumulations, and expenses. We also call it income, expenses, assets, and debts. 2C, we have fully complied with Family Code Section 2102 and have fully augmented the preliminary declarations of disclosure, including disclosure of all material facts and information on 1, the characterization of all assets and liabilities, 2, the valuation of assets and that are community property or in which the community has an interest, and 3, the amounts of all community debts and obligations. That's all going to be put into the forms needed for a declaration of disclosure. So if you've done them correctly, you've done those 3. 2D, each of the parties enter into this waiver knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily. That means nobody's tricking you or promising you to do anything for you to sign this form or threatening you in any way. If somebody's forcing you to sign this form, it should be common sense. Don't sign the form. Don't sign anything if somebody's forcing you to sign anything ever. All right. 2E. Each party understands that this waiver does not limit the legal disclosure obligations of the parties, but rather is a statement under penalty of perjury that those obligations have already been fulfilled. 2F. The parties also understand that if they do not comply with these obligations, the court will set aside your judgment. Now, that F is the punch. That's the key. The law says, Family Code Section, California Family Code says that if you do not do proper declarations of disclosures, your judgment when you get finished, your judgment, some people call it a decree, your final paperwork, that judgment can be shall be set aside. And I'm talking 10 years, 11, 15, 30 years from now. The law says that if you don't do proper disclosures, your judgment shall be set aside. Folks, just do them correctly. It's a couple hours worth of work. Do it correctly, serve it on the other party, and protect yourself. All right, folks. Then it says under here, this is the penalty of perjury part. The petitioner and respondent declare under penalty of perjury, under the laws of the state of California, that the foregoing is true and correct. If that is all true, and you have done your preliminary declarations of disclosure completely and properly and served them and filed your proof of service, or if you're going to file your proof of service of your preliminary declarations of disclosure with this set of paperwork, and that's okay too, then date this form. Both of you write your names to the left and sign the appropriate name to the right, and this form is done. That is the stipulation and waiver of final declaration of disclosure. It's a very simple form, but it's very powerful and very, very important that you understand all of the information that I put in this video. All right, folks, I hope this video has been helpful in helping you fill out your stipulation and waiver of final declaration of disclosure. Thank you very much.